One like, and it says nobody's here. How crazy is that? YouTube algorithm is awesome. Whoever hit that like, thank you very much. Jesse Good, Stacy Mathis, how are you guys? You guys want to see something crazy? It started snowing out at 9 p.m. It is snowing 2 inches a freaking hour right now. Look at that wonderful winter wonderland. Well, like 1 to 2 inches an hour. It's dumping though, because it started at 9 p.m. It's 3 hours. I just went out with a yardstick, poked it down, and it said 5 inches. I'm not happy with that. Plow truck going by, pushing snow in my driveway. Asshole. DB Mac, Poppy from Sweden. How are you? Tyler 420, what's up? Maggie Mayhem, how are you? Claire Harris. Jane Doe. Where's John? What did you do with John Doe? I cannot believe how much snow fell. So we had last week, we got about 7 inches in 2 days. This will bring us up to like maybe, they're saying 11 inches by the end of all this. So we'll probably get, did you get my email? No, I did not respond. So I did not get it. Stacy, if I got it, I would have said, got this email. We'll contact you soon. It's usually really quick just because I want people to know that I got it. But I'm usually, don't have the time to get right into it right now. I know, Delirium. I know. Sniff it out. What's going on? Shackle Neck, how are you? Please try again. Gen X. DL Hemingway, how are you tonight? He's sleeping in his chair. My 16th week with you guys. Wesley September. Happy anniversary. DB Mac. What's up, T-Baby? How are you? Kathy Hayes. Well, thank you for letting us know that, Kathy. Appreciate that. Steve O. Mega. Neck. I did not bring the new shofar upstairs tonight, but I have the old one, and I can smell it without making the face because that kit that you sent me had that great cleaner. Now it doesn't smell like asshole. What's up, Nicola? How are you? Jesse B, how are you? Kenneth, how are you, my friend? Adam Condon. Rick. What's up, buddy? DB Mac, the man, the legend, continues. What's up, Raven? How are you tonight? Joseph Cannon. So I have 1 more month until I get my permanent implants put in, and the temps are just like, they're like a composite. They're not very strong, and so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 on the top, 10 on the bottom. And the 3 back here, I broke this week. I thought I fucked my whole mouth up because the piece fell out. And I grind my teeth so bad that I unscrewed the bolt in my mouth because I grind my teeth when I sleep. The dentist is like, oh, it happens. He's like, You'll not be able to do that when your new ones are in, though, when the permanent ones are in. I'm like, you might want to fucking Loctite that motherfucker in there. Kakalina, how are you? Gingerbeard, how are you, my friend? Yeah, the baby shofar makes a pretty neat squeak. It sounds like a magic fart. What's up, Chevy? How are you, buddy? Sully's on time. We're not docking your pay tonight, buddy. Susan of New Jersey. New Jersey. You know, New Jersey used to have, they may still have it, but there was like a monthly periodical that came out called Weird New Jersey. And it was an actual magazine. I wish we had something like that in upstate New York. Weird New York. Who knows? What's up, Linda? How are you? Danny Sanders, how are you? Nope, Jane is not here yet. Let's find out where Jane is. Where's that bit? No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. Jeff, I'm sorry I won't be there tonight. Brutal sciatica. And I'm on muscle relaxers. We were just checking on you. A bunch of folks asked about you in the live. And we wanted to make sure that you were okay. Claire Harris sends her love. Love you, bitch. I love Jane. Get him. I would probably mob through that fucker. I would probably cut right through it. These teeth are so sharp. And then so he comes back with this. So when he took it off, he like had to clean it. And that like 3 section there. And I'm like, you need to give me some Listerine right now because that fucking stinks and it tastes like shithole. It was terrible. On time for the freak off. I hope you brought the baby oil. Oh my God. P. Diddy. Do you see what Kanye West is posting on Twitter? Free Diddy. What a fucking loser. Nebraska had a periodical called Shotgun News. Diddy's getting baby oil poured right in his booter hole. Some big prisoner named Randall has got fucking Diddy ass up in the air. So he's got Diddy by the waist. Diddy's booter. And he's just pouring the baby oil. Yeah. The elbow deep. That's terrible. Jeff, you just got canceled. Just kidding. Stack of experiences tonight. I got some lot lizard experiences tonight. And I'll show you all the guys to snow. Policeman. Ah! That was the policeman right there. It's $20. It's $20. Ah! He'll probably come back and swat me. Hide this fucking window. Wouldn't that be funny? Like 10 minutes from now, I'll be like, Belle, do not open the door. Fucking turn all the lights off. We're hiding. Melinda, you're welcome. So fucking sad. Diddy the freckle puncher. What the fuck? Oh my goodness. I would not find that funny either, Dane. I would definitely not. Steve O, there's an upload. Ironically enough, you asked that question. There's an upload up today that I posted about that. Yes. What's up, Charlie Knight? How are you? So I think what we'll do is we'll start this night off right. Ugh. Patrice, how are you? Well, thank you, Dane. Thank you. Enki, long time no see. I haven't seen you in a while. ED, how are you? Erectile dysfunction, how's it going? I'm just kidding. Nikola Tesla is in the house. He is causing electricity to go out. Nicole Clark, just popping in to say hello. Well, I'm glad that you're here with us tonight, Enki. I really am. Thank you for joining us. Sonia, how are you, dear? Well, Dane, I'd love to hear him. Zilla 92. I'm trying to Arnissa. If I said your name wrong, Arnissa, I apologize. But I promise. Reuben Cruz. Reuben sandwiches are the greatest sandwiches on earth. I fucking love Reuben sandwiches. And that's why I love you, Reuben Cruz. I love you because your name is my favorite sandwich in the whole gosh darn world. You are an icon. SDL, how are you? I heard that Jewel is supposedly coming back with mango pods very soon. Thank you, President Trump, for doing that for me. I knew he heard my fucking cries of agony. Back in... Jan, how are you? From Key West, you lucky bum you. Back in 2012, two friends and I, we'll call them D and J, went to Look Rock. It's a concrete observation tower at the top of Chilhowee Mountain in Blount County, Tennessee. Ooh, speaking of that, Chilhowee is, well, I did the upload, that park ranger who was present during the bear attack. I don't know why I stopped the whole thing. I just thought that was interesting. I like it when other encounters coincide or match up with ones. It really fancies and tickles me places it shouldn't. Back in 2012, two friends and I, we'll call them D and J, went to Look Rock. It's a concrete observation tower at the top of Chilhowee Mountain in Blount County, Tennessee. To get to the tower, you park in a small pull-off and walk a paved trail about a half a mile up the mountain. I've been up this tower many times, and there's usually some kind of energy in the air. You can't see it, but you can feel it. It's like the woods themselves have acquired sentience, and they are just barely tolerating your presence. Anyway, this particular trip was quite eerie. Typically in the woods, you can hear woodsy sounds, cicada, wind rustling in the trees, and the occasional animal. But this night was silent. Going back to my simile, it's not the sentient woods that are terrifying. It's not. Why the fuck can't I read tonight? Just going to start it over again because I'm a freaking moron. I'm very sorry. Back in 2012, two friends and I, we'll call them D and J, went to Look Rock. It's a concrete observation tower at the top of Chiloui Mountain in Blount County, Tennessee. And to get to the tower, you park in a small pull-off and walk a paved trail about a half a mile up the mountain. I've been to this tower many times, and there's usually some kind of energy in the air. You can't see it, but you can feel it. It's like the woods themselves have acquired sentience. I'm not starting over. And they are just barely tolerating your presence. Anyway, this particular trip was eerily quiet. Typically in the woods, you can hear woodsy sounds, cicadas, wind rustling in the trees, and the occasional animal. But this night was silent. Going back to my simile, it's like the sentient woods were terrified of something and were paralyzed with fear. The trip up the mountain was uneventful, apart from the general air of creepiness. We went up to the tower and sat there, talking for a couple of hours. Finally, at around 3 a.m. or so, we decided it was time to wrap it up. We began the trip back down. At the base of the tower, there are a couple of flattish boulders about 6 feet in diameter or so, placed as decoration. What I saw on the boulder was the start of a terrifying night. No one else in the group noticed, but squatting on the boulder was a solid black form about 4 to 5 feet tall, with deep, glowing red eyes. It stared at us for a second, then vanished into thin air. Assuming my eyes were just messing with me, I reluctantly carried on past the boulders. The feeling of uneasiness followed us up until about the halfway point. On this trail, there is a point where the trail turns 90 degrees to the right when going back down. The trail you're walking on continues forward, but it's just an ATV access for the rangers. This is in the Smoky Mountains National Park. About 20 feet or so before the turn, I notice an extra pair of footsteps. There were only 3 of us, but now there are 4 sets. I stopped and looked, and right behind Jay was a 7-foot tall heat distortion. Like when you look over a flaming grill on a summer day, it was vaguely human-shaped. As with the form on the boulder, after looking at it for a few seconds, it vanished. At this point, we double-timed it back to the car. They had not seen it, but they felt it. Halfway down the trail, there is a spot where one of the trees has fallen into a split trunk of another tree. So it forms kind of a triangle against the ground. At the top of the triangle, the same crouched black form with deep red eyes. Again, it vanished after looking at it. We made it back down to the truck, everything in our minds screaming, "Run." We hauled ass down the Foothills Parkway until we made it back to the highway. From there, the trip was uneventful. We dropped Jay off at his house and proceeded to Dee's, about 15 minutes away. As I was pulling down Dee's driveway, his phone rang. He answered it, turned pale, and flagged me down. Something had happened at Jay's house. We booked it back to Jay's, where we found every light on in his house. We went in and found him in bed with a Bible on one hand and a 45 in the other. Jay's bedroom faces the streetlight. Also in his room, he has a nightlight, a clock, and a stereo, all of which keep his room fairly well lit. He had gone to bed. Then the room suddenly had went dark. He could see the streetlight, the clock, the radio, etc. They were still it, but they cast no glow in the room. He said he couldn't even see his hand in front of his face. He went on to say that something had just put his hand on its throat and growled in his face, then left. By the time we had gotten there, it had already left. Just to be sure, we lined the doors and windows with salt. I had read that somewhere, that salt keeps this kind of stuff away. We never saw or heard from that thing again. To this day, I have no idea what it is. We've been back to the tower several times since, but it's never been the same. The woods have always been quiet and afraid. Very, very terrifying. What's up, Truth Quest? How are you? Elizabeth, how are you tonight, dearie? Eric Johnson. Let me see if I missed. Aramik! What's up, dog? John Sumner, how are you, buddy? Troy, how are you? Sunshine, dream day, or daydream? Dream day. Dirt. So that experience reminded me of an experience that I had heard a while ago. I shared it probably a couple of years ago. And a couple of guys, two guys and two girls, boyfriend, girlfriend, two sets of couples, both Native American, both sets Native American, had gone on a hike in native, like a native spiritual area, sacred land. And they didn't party, they weren't disrespectful or anything. And for some reason, they had upset some sort of spirit there. And when they got back home, the couple that was driving had dropped the other couple off. The next couple of hours go by, and the couple that had dropped the other couple off got a call from the girl saying she needed to come to their house because the boyfriend was acting really strange. And he had like locked himself in the bedroom and got all of his like traditional Native American. He danced in powwows, and he had two sets of dance outfits. Usually when you dance in powwows, there's traditional and fancy, but he was a traditional dancer, which is old time, old school. But he had all of this like kind of sacred stuff out. And he said that there was some sort of shapeshifter, some sort of demonic being that had attached itself to him and his girlfriend, and he was trying to fight it. For some reason, they ended up going back to that park that night to hopefully bring the energy back with them to the park. For some reason, they thought that would work. It did, but it's just weird how it kind of made a little bit of a connection for me. Anyway, I'll just shut up and stop talking bullshit. What's up, Stacy Lockett? How are you, dear? Yes, definitely like a skinwalker. But it wasn't a skinwalker. It was a shapeshifter because they weren't on Navajo land. But definitely something of the sense. Guys want to see the snow again? Look at this shit, dude. Look at that. 1 inch to 2 inches an hour. I cannot believe. Look how awesome that is. It's fucking great. Yeah, my hair does grow really quick. I don't have the new one up here. I have the old one up here tonight. Getting snow here in Cape Cod. Love the love. No shit. If you don't mind me asking, where in Cape Cod are you? Are you like in Sandwich or? Flat Earth. Nice. Hyannis. Okay. Oh, you're a Richie. Little Richie. I love Cape Cod. You work in Sandwich? Okay, that's awesome. I love Cape Cod. It's beautiful there. So, yeah, you're a normie. I know. I'm kidding. You're a local, is what you are. It's like we have a house. My parents. Well, I do because everything's in my parents' name is mine now because they're old and stuff. But My great granddad was a bootlegger, and he would come down from Canada into Maine. So where Mount Desert Island is where Bar Harbor is, which is very Cape Cod-ish. Martha's Vineyard, kind of. So, and we have two houses there. My aunt has a house, and my dad, and my aunt lives there year round. But you can't even buy a house on that island nowadays for under $1 million. It's fucking crazy expensive. But we wouldn't have that if it wasn't for my great granddad. So, thank you. A little bit of Bahaba. Funny story. I'll tell you the funny story about Cape Cod after this. My first time going to Cape Cod was a strange one. In February of 2019, we had an unseasonably warm week, so I decided to head out into the mountains in central Pennsylvania one night after work for a short backpacking trip. This was near Bald Eagle State Forest. I left my car right outside of town, basically just a tavern and a general store near the trailhead sometime after 8 p.m. and started my climb up from the creek toward the higher elevations. Most of the snow had melted off over the previous days, leaving the streams overflowing and sections of trail covered with running or standing water. Dude, there is fucking knocking right now. Hang on. There's knocking at my house right now. Hang on. No, not haunted. Not haunted. Fill Aramic in. Treats. No, some treats. Okay, we're good. We're good. This was weird. It might have been a haunting because I went out into the living room and Tigger is just standing in the middle of the living room staring at the window. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. Come on. Tigger's going to say hi to you guys. Oh, come here. Oh. Say hi to everybody, buddy. Say hi. Oh, good boy. There he is. There he is. You're a good boy, huh? Yeah. Okay. Here, gotta give you some treats. Gotta give him some treats, and then we'll get to the story. Here you go, buddy. All right. So something weird happened out there because it was like I just heard tonk tonk tonk. And Aramic, I don't know if anybody filled you out or filled you in, but earlier I yelled out the window when a cop went by, and I yelled $20 is $20, and I made the joke, wouldn't it be funny if I got swatted? So, but Tigger's like sitting in the middle of the fucking living room staring at nothing. Anyway, terribly sorry. February 2019, we had an unseasonably warm week, so I decided to head out into the mountains of central Pennsylvania one night after work for a short backpacking trip. This was near Bald Eagle State Forest. I left my car right outside of town basically just a tavern and a general store, near the trailhead sometime after 8 p.m. I started my climb up the creek toward the higher elevations. Most of the snow had melted off over the previous days, leaving the streams overflowing in sections of the trail covered in running or standing water. With the rhododendron bushes growing all around, there was often no choice but to slosh straight through the water. There was no chance of keeping your feet dry in conditions like that anyway. You just stick to the center of the trail and accept it. The trail took me up into the fog, which continued to thicken with the elevation until my entire world was reduced to a 6-foot bubble lit by my headlamp. The air somehow felt warm and cool at the same time. There was a constant white noise, rushing sound from the water all around that grew and faded as I walked. The whole sensory experience had some weird effects on me. Water in my peripheral vision looked like it was writhing instead of flowing, and I had this near constant sense of light and activity just behind and to the sides of me. No unusual dread or anything like that, just a bizarre feeling as my mind invented things to fill in the surroundings that were mostly blocked off from my senses. I pitched a tarp and went to sleep near one of the roaring streams sometime after 1 a.m. I don't even know how many times I woke up convinced there was a crowd of people murmuring. I'd open my eyes, peek out of the tarp. No more than 30 feet away were a pair of bright yellow eyes looking in my direction. Then I heard a human-like voice. As I watched the yellow eyes move through the brush, I realized that it was at least 8 feet in height. I ducked back under the tarp and listened carefully. I heard several voices that seemed to be having a conversation for another 10 minutes or so. Then it eventually stopped. Previous to that night, I had never believed in Bigfoot existence theories, but now I feel that is what I had encountered. They were doing a little samurai chatter. That's what it sounds like to me. Thank you, Daryl Williams. Thank you, and welcome to the show tonight, my friend. Andy Davis, how are you, brother? Kathy Hayes, 3 Cat Mom. I did say hi to Kathy Hayes already, I believe. Yes. Jim Baker, how are you, buddy? Has been a while, Daryl Williams. Has been a while. Cat Woman and 3 Cat Mom. Do you guys get your cats together to like have cat fights? Haha, just kidding. Just kidding. Sonny, how are you? Samara, how are you, Samara? So anyway, Cape Cod story. First time ever going to Cape Cod. I'm 18 years old. I had my uncle is extremely gay, like gayer than gay. And I have no issue with it or qualm. He's my uncle, and you know, I've never known him to be any other thing than gay. You know, so I actually I can't say it on the air, but anyway, I had a funny name that I called his partner, but we'll just not. So anyway, we decide that, or he decides that he wants to go to Cape Cod, and I'm like, I'll go with you. I've never been to Cape Cod, and he's like, we'll have a great time. He's like, there's some beautiful restaurants there, and you know, he goes, we can go whale watching. He goes, there's a surf shop there. He goes, you can skateboard down there and stuff. Because at the time I skated forever. So I'm like, okay, cool. And we drive through Cape Cod, and we're driving all the way down. And I'm like, where are we going? I'm like, we're almost to the end of the Cape. And he goes, oh, we're going to Provincetown. And I'm like, what's Provincetown? He goes, you'll see. And I'm like, okay. So we pull in this town, and I'm like, 30 years ago, this is 30 years ago, there's just men holding men's hands and women holding women's hands and men wearing Daisy Duke shorts. And I'm like, what the? I'm like, where are we? I'm like, where did you bring me? What's going on here? He goes, relax. It'll be fun. You'll have fun. Okay. So I'm like, all right, I'm accepting. Whatever. I see the skate shop. It's called Board Stiff. Interesting name, huh? And it's a surf shop too. But I'm like, oh, sick. Shop, cool. I get a new deck, whatever. So we go out, we check into the bed and breakfast, and we go out to get pizza. So we get pizza, and there's this really famous pizza place there. I forget the name of it, but they have drag shows there. And my uncle gave the man thing that played Bette Midler. I don't know what to call him. Bette Midler money to embarrass the fucking shit out of me. So there's a picture of 18-year-old Jeff with Bette Midler and Marilyn Monroe kissing me on my cheeks. My face is as red as the soda can because I realize that these are dudes. And I'm like, great time though. Amazing time. But it was really, I mean, the skate shop was awesome. Other than the one time that I thought I saw a hot girl and realized it was a guy, that I was like, fuck. I'm like, am I? Am I? No. Oh my God. It was so weird. Aramic, this one goes out to you. A few years ago, I was at a privately owned campground located in the greater Yellowstone region. Anyhow, I checked in and met the dude running the place. He was really laid back and down to earth. Anyhow, we connected pretty well. I felt comfortable around him and safe at his spot, which is important as I travel solo. Well, we started chatting one morning, and he was telling me about him spending some time, 2 to 3 months, in the Appalachian Trail, starting in Georgia and moving up north. I don't remember how this was brought up, but he begins telling me how one day he found a cut-off in the trail, an old carriage road or something, and that it was pretty quiet. This was in the Pisgah National Forest in North Carolina, or Pisgah. He starts telling me how he's hiking and begins hearing branches and twigs breaking off the trail on his side. Being the only one there, he suspects it's an animal. According to him, he sets up camp that night and begins hearing the same noises around his campsite. Well, he begins to get freaked out and decides he'll rest quickly and get back on the trail. Morning comes and he hits the trail again and begins hearing the same noises. He begins telling me how he starts to get a little worried at this point. He seemed pretty legit, getting emotional, but not overly dramatic, but you could tell he was affected by recalling this. The dude tells me he starts picking up his pace on the trail, beginning to keep pace, and this thing begins to keep pace with him. Finally, he reached a ranger station, which was closed. He says he was so freaked out, he was ready to break in when the ranger pulled up and saw him in distress. He starts explaining what was going on, and supposedly the ranger tells him he's surprised he made it that far by himself and lets him into the station. He gets inside, and the ranger shows him a storage area with around a dozen packs that he claims to have picked up with nobody around. Now, the experience gets weird, but again, he seems emotional. He claims that while at the station, he and the ranger heard something on the roof, and he starts to mimic the sounds this creature was making. Pretty much strange and obnoxious creature noises. He claims it was tall, humanoid with wings. I have no clue what this dude is recalling. However, it sent me on a quest to see if anyone has had an experience like this on the Appalachian Trail. Well, the guy saw the Mothman. What's up, Coker? Get it! Fucking rednecks, baby. Upstate New York. That helped him. What time is it? Oh, we got 20 more minutes. I just put, good evening, Belia? Yeah, cops are coming for... No, they're not coming. I blow this thing every Saturday night. I just didn't play a song tonight yet. Yeah. What's up, Richard? I had no Michael Jackson voice Dogman chasing me. Thank you, Richard. Not really sure. Not really sure, Charlie Knight. Kelly Johnson, how are you? Oh, they're banging through again. I think I hear a snowmobile. Robert Orr, how are you? All right. I kind of want to mix things up a little bit tonight. There we go. Hello, everyone. Long-time lurker and long-time sub, and I'm a personal believer in Bigfoot and other supernatural things. Until now, of course, laughing my ass, but to be honest, I don't really think this was a Bigfoot that I witnessed in this experience I'm about to share. I'm just looking for answers as to what I saw. This happened about 4 years ago in a small town in Washington State. My girlfriend, now ex, not that that matters for the experience, at the time, and I decided to plan a getaway trip for a long weekend in a yurt, since we both loved nature, and going to a place far from the city in the middle of nowhere seemed like a good time. And it truly was a good time. The thing that struck with me most about staying in this yurt was just how dark and quiet it was at nighttime in the middle of the night. When you're not used to the wilderness, it's quite striking how silent things can be and how dark the outside is when there is no light pollution involved. The outhouse where we had to go to the bathroom was about 75 yards from the yurt, and you'd have to take a flashlight with you to navigate the darkness. The first night we were there, nature called, and I went outside to find the restroom. I shined the flashlight that cut through the darkness like a lightsaber and spotted some eye shine. There was nothing more. It was nothing more than a good-sized female deer, but I would have no idea she was there if I didn't see the eyes via the flashlight. The actual experience happened the last night, approximately 11 p.m. to about 12 a.m., We were playing cards inside the yurt by the fire when out of nowhere we heard this huge crash bang on the side of the yurt, almost as if something threw itself into the side of it or was running and didn't see it there until it was too late. Obviously, we were startled. We wanted to see what made such a racket. As we were in the middle of nowhere, but we were still on the property and not very deep into the woods, for it have to have been a bear or a mountain lion, at least I thought so. What happens next is hard to explain. I threw the door open and shined my flashlight like I did the night prior when I saw the deer, and I saw something in the same spot, but it was different. It had no eye shine, and I only saw it for a moment, but it looked like it was white or gray. It had a slender build to it. What creeped me out was the way it moved. It seemed to crouch down while looking in my direction, slinking away out of the frame like a big cat or monkey might move out of the way. And then I never saw it again after that. I didn't want to investigate because shit, I was scared. It might have been a cougar or something, and I'm not trying to die in front of my girlfriend, even if she had left me not long after this. That aside, whatever I saw was unlike anything I had ever seen before. I didn't make out a face. What I saw, I read someone somewhere earlier today before sharing this, a Bigfoot encounter, and it crawled across the ground. And for whatever reason, it made me remember my encounter, and it sent shivers down my spine. I'm not saying this was a Bigfoot. Hell, it could have been something normal, I guess. I did only see it for maybe a couple of seconds, but I have never seen anything like that in real life or in any movie or TV show. It was strange. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but I'm just trying to explain and look for an explanation. What I saw was white or light-colored creature that had a slender build like a skinny human in the middle of the night outside of an Airbnb yurt in Washington State. Crawler! Crawler! Carla, how are you? Is there abominable snowman? Yeah, I believe the abominable snowman, Yeti, Bigfoot are all the same. I think, like, to me, so that's a pretty good question, actually. That's a really good question. I mean, I think, okay, so it may be in like the same species or genus or whatever you want to call it, but like people, we have different, like there's Asian people, there's black people, there's, redheads, brunettes. So people claim that the Yeti or the abominable snowman is a white colored, and I think that's the reason for a kind of different classification because it's white. But like other animals in nature do, their hair changes color to act as camouflage. So that's what I think happens to these creatures through like generational. Would it be like Zilla? Thank you so much. Like kind of environmental evolution, something like that. Just what's up, Zilla? Thank you so much. Thank you, Jay. I'm glad someone agrees and someone could understand that fucking blah, 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 blah. I feel like an idiot sometimes. I just can't get it out. You know what I mean? The crawlers seem the worst case to me. Yeah, crawlers are not. I would less likely want to see a crawler than a dogman again. Just because they're more humanoid. I think that's what's more frightful of the crawlers is they're more humanoid looking. You know what I mean? Like Dogman, yes, it walks on its hind legs. It has arms and opposable thumbs, supposedly, yada, yada, yada. But it doesn't look that much like a human. A crawler, on the other hand, looks like a human, but not. And they're fucking scary looking. Another thing I definitely never want to see is a feral human. Because, yeah, that's not cool. Thank you, Carla. Appreciate that. Evan Hawk, I don't roll that way, brother. But I appreciate the offer. But you can do me if you'd like, because you know $20 is $20. Sonny the Wandering Gypsy. Jeff, what do you think about vampires and the guy on YouTube who made his vampire teeth appear at will? I think that is fake. I don't believe that's real. There's like video. You can manipulate video. People believe everything nowadays on YouTube. Like somebody sent me a photo of it was clearly an AI picture of a Dogman. And they're like, this is real. Look at how real this looks. And I'm like, dude, it does not look real at all. I believe in vampires. I believe vampires are such a thing. I just don't believe that a guy is going to post on YouTube that his teeth grow at will. And still be alive to, and still keep posting on a daily basis, I think, But I do believe vampires are. Candy Wolf, how are you? I apologize for not seeing you earlier. Winter Sky, how are you? No, $20 is $20, SDL, not 20 butts. Tyler 420, I agree. 100% Dogman can grow teeth. As babies, yeah. Like, no, not from what I know, no. They're genetically like you and I guess. Like they have baby teeth and probably, but I've never heard of where they just grow their teeth longer. Lizzie, I hope to see you again. Daryl, you leaving? Of course Bigfoot's real. My opinion on black-eyed children, Dogman Island. But yes, Dogman Island is somewhere in Louisiana. My opinion on black-eyed children. Well, I've covered them here quite a bit, and I either believe they are demonic or some sort of alien creation between alien human or something. They might, they might be a result of those laboratories in Dulce. Like there's, okay, here, this might explain black-eyed kids, and I don't really think anybody's ever talked about it, but we have over like a shit ton of missing people every year, and no one knows where they go. Well, supposedly, and I only say supposedly because I've never witnessed it myself, but supposedly the aliens of the past and our government of the past made pacts, and they said you can take humans, X amount of humans for X amount of information and knowledge. So the aliens, of course, hooked us up, but then started to take more people. So then the testing and shit at Dulce happened and other bases, and mothers were being kidnapped, babies, they weren't discriminating. So maybe these black-eyed kids are an alien hybrid sent out by the aliens to see what's going on, to see like not saboteurs, but like just to see how the world would accept them, or to see what is going on, maybe to possibly kidnap more people. And that's why we say don't let them into your house, because bad shit will happen. So I don't know. I think they can travel between dimensions. I don't think they're from different dimensions. I've done a ton of videos, SDL, on the hybridization program. Tons of them, actually. My dad is doing well. Thank you for asking, Claire. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah. I think all presidents know about Dulce. I think they're told specifically, right when they enter office. So being this is his second time being president, I most definitely think he knows, and he'll know. I think at the end of Trump's presidency, I think we will know more than what we know now about certain things. I think he'll obviously share more on the RFK, JFK, MLK assassinations, secret CIA programs. I'd like to hope that he talks about Dulce, looks into it. That'd be awesome. Speaking of aliens, this experience, I keep drooling because of my teeth still, so I apologize. I'm still trying to get used to my implants. So if you see a little bit of drool, I apologize. This story is unique, and I know it's not like any alien encounter I have ever heard anyone else talk about. So this happened in a very crowded environment some 30 plus years ago in the mid 80s. These two girls started talking to my friend and me. They were very nice, and we sat and talked to them for a while. The girl I was talking to was East Indian. Her eyes were really wide open, like she could see the entire iris of her eyes. Anyway, she starts talking about some weird stuff about our government going to start tracking us. That one day people wouldn't use cash anymore, and at the time that sounded pretty far out there. This was pre-internet. She then started saying some really far out stuff, like talking about how she was really over 80 years old. She only looked like she was 20, but it was entertaining. And at one point, she even said, "Don't think I'm just a crazy person," which I kind of laughed off. But what happened next was something that is still hard for me to imagine. She put her hands near my eyes and looked into my eyes. I looked back, and it was like I started falling into her head, as best as I can explain. Then there was this really powerful buzz, and she telepathically showed me that she was an alien. I was absolutely terrified at that point. She then pulled her hands away and said, "Now you know." I was scared and wanted to run, but I couldn't. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't speak. It was almost as if someone shut me off. I could only just sit there and look around. I saw people walking by and wanted to yell for help, but I couldn't. My friend was just standing there talking to the other girl. Then, after maybe 10 minutes or so, my friend said, "I'm cold. Let's go to the car and get my jacket." I still couldn't talk and just looked at the Indian girl/alien. He said again, "Let's go get my jacket." The Indian girl said, "I guess you better go." And I was able to stand up, but still couldn't talk. We walked for about 5 minutes, and it was like the spell was broken and I was me again. I tried to just get everything out at once, and I blurted out, "That girl was an alien and she buzzed my brain." As I said that, the sheer horror of how crazy that sounded hit me. He laughed and I laughed, kind of like I was joking. I knew from that day forward nobody would ever believe this experience. Even the most die-hard alien enthusiasts, I felt somehow connected to her for another day or so, like she somehow knew what I was doing on my daily life. I would like to tell myself that it never really happened, that maybe I just had some kind of once in a lifetime psychotic break from reality or something. That just makes sense. But the fact that she said, "Now you know," out loud right after the telepathic link makes it pretty hard to dismiss as something that was just in my mind. Donut. I love Donut. Yvette, how are you? Elise, how are you? No, Elsa. Elsa Blue. Yvette and Elsa. E.T. staying with a military man. It's a very weird book. ED, is that book, is it written by like, is it presented like in a educational way, or is it written in a fictional way? What's up, Joe Gomez? I know a little bit about it, Richard. A little bit. What's up, Kevin? How are you, buddy? Jim. So, like, kind of like a book like this, like The Ultimate Deception by Commander X, which is Bill Cooper. Kreger's 57. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. What's your take on the Dogman Jeff Goldblum theory? I think that's a fucking joke. Is my Jeff Goldblum being a dogman? That's, I don't know. if Jeff Goldblum's like a dogman, I think that's a joke. And if you heard it on YouTube, you should probably never watch that channel ever again. Jeff Goldblum is definitely Jeff Goldblum is the Fly. He is the Fly. He can't be the dog, man. He's the Fly. Thank you, SDL. That was a fucking good comeback, SDL. Damn! Wasn't Jeff Goldblum Buckaroo Banzai? I think Jeff Goldblum was Buckaroo Banzai, too. No. Jeff Goldblum is... Who was Buckaroo Banzai? Where's my phone? Yes, he was Buckaroo Banzai. I fucking knew it. Who was Buckaroo Banzai? Yes, it was Jeff Goldblum. Well, he was New Jersey. He wasn't Dr. Buckaroo Banzai, but he was New Jersey. Craigers, thank you. You know what time it is, though? We're an hour in. So, I got a good one for you tonight. I got three lot lizard experiences for you guys tonight. I got 3 lot lizards. All right, here we go. Chubby Lizzo and the Lost Lugnuts of Love. The fluorescent lights of the roadside oasis truck stop buzzed with a frantic energy of trapped wasp. Inside Earl, a man whose belly strained against his Born to Haul t-shirt, sighed. He'd been driving 14 hours. His bladder felt like a melon about to burst, and the coffee inside him churned like a demonic washing machine. He pushed open the door to the restroom, half expecting the usual scene of damp paper towels and the lingering aroma of industrial disinfectant. Instead, he was met with something else. Perched on the edge of a cracked sink, amidst a scattering of glitter and what appeared to be shed scales, sat Chubby Lizzo. Lizzo wasn't exactly what Earl expected to find in the truck stop bathroom, even after 20 years on the road. For one thing, she was green, a sort of swampy, mossy green, actuated by accented. I can't say the fucking word because my mouth. By a thick layer of iridescent eyeshadow. For another, her form was robust, and finally, she had a tail, a short, stumpy tail that twitched rhythmically. Well, hello there, Big Rig, she crooned, her voice a surprising high-pitched squeal, like a rusty swing set. Long day on the blacktop? Earl blinked. Sure, he was hallucinating from the caffeine withdrawal and loneliness. Yeah, just need to, he gestured vaguely toward the urinals. Lizzo chuckled, a sound that resembled dry leaves being crushed underfoot. Don't be shy, sugar. Lizzo knows what a tired trucker needs. She winked, and Earl was fairly certain he saw a second eyelid flicker. He edged toward the urinal, trying to ignore the unsettling feeling that he was being sized up like a prize-winning hog at a country fair. Just gonna take care of business. Business is my business, darling, Lizzo purled, hopping off the sink with surprising agility. She waddled closer, trailing a faint scent of chlorine and cheap perfume. I specialize in stress relief, roadside assistance, you might say. Earl, normally a man of few words, found himself stammering. I don't understand. Lizzo batted her reptilian eyelashes. Lost your lug nuts, have you? Feeling a little unbalanced? Lizzo can tighten them right up. She held up her hand with surprisingly sharp claws, each painted a different shade of neon green. Earl's mind raced. He'd heard stories, whispers around campfires at truck stops about strange things happening on the road, tales of hitchhikers who vanish into thin air, of phantom truckers who drove into eternity on deserted highways. But this was something else entirely. He decided to play dumb. Lug nuts on Sunday? I think I have all my lug nuts. He patted his stomach nervously. Lizzo sighed dramatically, puffing out her cheeks, or rather her fleshy pouches on each side of her face. You humans are so dense. I'm offering you companionship, a brief respite from the loneliness of the open road, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of my special lizard love. The thought sent a shiver down Earl's spine, a shiver that wasn't entirely unpleasant. He glanced around the restroom. It was deserted, save for him and the suspiciously cheerful reptilian prostitute. The buzzing of the fluorescent lights seemed to intensify, as if the very building was holding its breath, waiting to see what he would do. Look, Earl said, trying to sound firm, I appreciate the offer, but I'm happily married to Betty back in Tulsa. And Betty doesn't like lizards. Lizzo's face fell, her scales seeming to dull slightly. Married, huh? Typical. They all say that. She rummaged in her small sequential handbag and pulled out a crumbled cigarette. Well, suit yourself, but don't come crying to Lizzo when your big rig breaks down and you're all alone on the side of the highway wishing you had taken a chance on a little scaly affection. Earl finished his business with record speed and practically sprinted out of the shitter, leaving Lizzo to light her cigarette and murmur something about unregrettable, unregrettable mammals and the decline of interspecies love. Back in his truck, Earl cranked up the radio, hoping to drown out the lingering image of chubby Lizzo and her unsettling proposition. He drove for another hour, his mind racing. He kept glancing in the rear view, half expecting to see a green, scaly figure hitchhiking along the side of the road. As he finally pulled into his destination, another truck stop outside of Amarillo, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Scrawled in the dust on his windshield was a single word written in what looked suspiciously like lipstick. Soon. Earl gulped. He knew with certainty that chilled him to the bone that chubby Lizzo wasn't just a one-off encounter. She was part of the road now, a bizarre, creepy, undeniably funny resident of the truck stop underworld. And somewhere out there on the lonely highway, she was waiting for him to lose a lug nut. Earl always gets the fucking shaft, man. He always gets the shaft. Andy Davis, I thought when you get the herp, you're stuck with the herp. You can't get them once. You get them and you keep them. It's a gift that keeps giving, I heard. Wants to lose a love nut. Aramic, what the fuck, dude? Oh, thank you, MJ Richards. So you found the cure. Shit. I think that's Earl's last name. It's Earl Skidmarks. Good old Earl Skidmarks. Oh, dude. That's a wart, Andy Davis. Sully's at the old stabbing cabin. Ugh, there we go. That would be great. They'll give you the hoppies. Let's see how the snow's doing. Oh, shit. It's really coming down now. I don't know if you guys can see that, but... 20 bucks is 20 bucks. It's dead quiet out there. All right, we're going to play Guess This Song, okay? Anyone guess? Anyone guess? No guesses? No guesses on the song? Oh my fucking God, Zilla! First guess. Zilla got it. Another one bites the dust. Holy shit. Fucking A. Richard, thank you so much, brother. Holy shit. I didn't think anyone was going to get that. Well, because it was a fucking great rendition. That's why, Andy Davis. Thank you, Aramic. It was damn good fucking Hebrew horn playing right there. I play the Hebrew horn like fucking shit. Well, not like shit. Well, maybe. I'm the Kenny G of Hebrew horn blowing. They call me Jeffy N. What the fuck? That's dumb. Jeff, when you was younger, have you ever noticed strange tracks in the snow when you first walked out? Bigfoot. Not big tracks, but we used to see some weird tracks down in the farm when I was growing up. I need to say that I have been protected by a guardian angel my whole life. There isn't much that can stand up to her, so I have always had a problem of no fear, and I have put myself in dangerous positions many times, just knowing I would be protected. First, I am a medium, and have had a few other paranormal gifts. When I'm around anything paranormal, I get a buzzing type feeling. Actually, two. One lets me know it's a good entity. The other, it's an evil entity. This has happened when I was 12, so I didn't know or understand the buzzing feeling. So I don't remember that part, even if I recognized it. My best friend and I took turns sleeping over at each other's houses. He lived in this small town of 1,500. It was 2 miles long by 1.5 miles wide. We always slept out in his treehouse, or that way, once his parents went to sleep, we could sneak out and roam the town. We did stupid stuff like one Halloween, we rolled the police station. The building. Took right at a case of toilet paper, since we just wrapped the building, including the screen door. The whole building was 15 feet wide by 30 feet long, so it wasn't hard. except I felt sorry for the cop working inside at the time when the other cop on duty showed up. Anyway, that wasn't the night I'm talking about. The night in question, we had made it probably 4 miles from home on the far side of town. It got to be around 3 a.m. when there was a wreck or a shooting or something. The one town cop on duty showed up. Thank you, Kitty. The one cop showed up, and there were about 5 or 6 county deputies who showed up, plus the ambulance. So we decided it was time to get home. We walked just a little way, then decided that if we cut through the cemetery, we could cut off more than half the distance home. So we started across the cemetery. Just before the halfway point, we started to hear a growling. I recognized that growling, but that's another story. Kyle, thank you so much. The farther we went, the louder it got. Then I could hear it coming from 2 different directions. We could hear twigs snapping the whole time, but we never could see a thing. Finally, after about 100 feet, we both stopped and looked at each other. Then we both slowly looked behind us. Floating in midair were 2 red eyes. There was nobody visible, just these 2 large red eyes. I knew immediately that this was a hellhound. Don't ask me how, I just knew. During this whole encounter, they floated between 3 to 5 feet off the ground. But at no time during the encounter did we see a body. Whatever it was standing there just growling at us. Cowboy 5 rings. Thank you, brother. We stared at these eyes until they bobbled. If it had a visible body, you would have seen the whole body flinch. We then turned and ran. We didn't have to tell each other to run. We just ran in synchrony. Right after we started to run, I turned to look. And now there were 2 sets of red eyes following us. We were running as fast as we could. If you looked at how the eyes were bobbling and bounding, you could tell these eyes had some extremely long legs. These eyes, the things the eyes were attached to, had extremely long legs. We ran close to 150 yards, and those things were just about to catch up. They should have caught right up to us. We finally made it to the 4-foot-high stone wall surrounding the cemetery. We managed to jump over it, and the exhaustion kicked in as we went across the wall. So we stood there, bent over, trying to catch our breath. We watched the first one come flying across the wall. That is the only time we saw the body, only because as we crossed the center line of the wall, the body started to glow. Imagine something that looks like a pit bull crossed with a Rottweiler with a stance of an English bulldog. It would make a 1.5 Saint Bernard or bigger. The skin looked like black leather, but really couldn't tell since it was on fire inside. Right as it hit the ground, it exploded. Needless to say, the second one stopped inside the cemetery, making a sound that was a cross between a growl and a bark. There was something about the confines of the cemetery that allowed it to exist, but it could not exist outside of that cemetery. We walked home in silence, and as we went to bed, we kind of discussed the events for about 5 minutes. We never talked about it again, but I am convinced that this was retaliation for the events I mentioned earlier, where I got ourselves by accident involved in the original paranormal situation. These 2 situations are what got me involved in paranormal work. These 2 events led to ending our friendship. No fighting or anything. Things were just awkward after that. I would be happy to tell the first experience if anyone wants to know what it was. Thank you for allowing me to share. Aramic, you're all good, brother. You fucking... You bless this channel fucking amazingly. So thank you, Aramek. You don't need to explain to anyone. I appreciate you. I have your experience right here for you next. Mert, I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you? Aramek is awesome. Sabrina, how are you? After 14 years, I still haven't a clue what I encountered this night. It was the fall of 2010. I was 16 years old at the time and up to no good. My friends and I were walking up the Massapequa Preserve in Long Island late at night. This was something we did often. My friends and I have a lot of stories of odd happenings in the woods of this preserve. Everything from half-assed robbery attempts to finding a dude living in a tent. Not to mention all the things I read in the news like MS-13 bodies, Lisk encounters, decapitated occult chickens, and streakers. I remember the night being dark and cold as my group was rounding the southwest corner of the lake. We came upon an abandoned municipal waterhouse. This was an old brick building that borders the southern edge of the lake. The inside is gutted with only rusted plumbing and stagnant water. There were 3 of us there that night, myself included. 2 of my friends were walking in a pair, maybe 5 yards ahead of me. As we walked past the waterhouse, something caught my eye. It was shiny and out of place in the dark. I called to my friends to wait up, but they seemingly didn't hear me. As I approached the side of the building, I saw a bike along the water's edge. It was lying on its side almost in the lake. I turned the light on my flip phone to illuminate the bike. Someone joyriding bikes and abandoning them is not uncommon. As I turned to get back to my group, something else came into my periphery. A kid on their hands and knees was visible, hiding behind a rock with only the top of their head showing. The kid seemed entranced and focused on something on the muddy ground. I asked if they were okay, only to get silence as a response. They were on their hands and knees with their face transfixed on the ground. I was about to speak again when the kid slowly began crawling toward me. They crawled slowly and dreamlike toward where I was standing, never looking to see who I was or where I was standing, seemingly knowing where I was based on the light from my phone alone. They appeared to be between the ages of 10 to 12 years old. They were wearing clothes very out of season for a cold fall night. From their tank top, I could see pale white skin and lanky arms. This child had long black hair, and the features on their face were difficult to discern. I heard no sound other than the crawling. I stood bewildered by what I was seeing until they were within a couple feet of me. My wanting to help was replaced with the need to run. Terrified, I ran to my friends who never noticed I was gone. I immediately told them what I saw, but they expressed no concern or want to turn around. They acted as though they didn't hear what I said and decided to change the conversation. We carried on into the night. Drugged up kids in the woods alone? Practical joke? Monster? I'm not sure. Scary, because it's a kid. That's not a practical joke. What 10-year-old's on drugs in the middle of a fucking park at night? Dude, it's pounding out right now. Look at this. It's just coming down. Oh, how beautiful that is. What's up, Run with Scissors? How are you? I know, it's crazy, Aramek. It's crazy. I gotta go snowblow all this after I'm done with the live stream. Black Queen Jacks. I don't have neighbors. No neighbors. Shackleneck's been in my neighborhood. Joseph Cannon, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Yvette. Appreciate that. I thought it was me and my stories to you, Aramek, that kept you in. I'm doing well, Lily. How are you? There's the old VHS. How are you, buddy? Wolf Moose Bear is in the house with us. Wonder what happened if a lot lizard met up with a feral human. You'd get that kid from Deliverance. I'm glad you're feeling better, 59th. I'm glad you're feeling better. Thank you, Mert. All right, this one's to Aramek and his love of wings. I remember an experience a woman told me long ago. This was back in the 80s. We worked for the federal government in a clerical capacity together. This coworker and I began talking about weird experiences one day, and she told me that her father had an encounter, and then the same thing had happened to her. I have no reason to believe or disbelieve her, but she had always seemed of sound mind, seemed very normal, and had never seemed untrustworthy to me. Her dad lived in San Antonio, Texas. Apparently, he drove back and forth to work in the evenings on a particular road out in the country, but very close to the highway. He came home one night and told the family that a flying figure the size of a human had followed him in his car for quite a while as he drove up the road. He saw it coming up behind him, and then it flew beside his driver's side window. When he looked at it, it looked human, but the eyes were very dark, and it had a frightening face. He described it as being dressed in a flowing, light-colored dress or robe and assumed it was a woman. Of course, he was frightened out of his wits. He acknowledged that he knew he sounded crazy, but swore it had happened. My coworker, at some point, she was riding along with him in his car on the same road one night, and the same thing happened to them. She swore that she saw this creature flying beside the car. It was on her father's side of the car, and its head was just at level with the father's head, looking at them through the window. I remember she said she had screamed and her father swerved the car. I don't remember anything else other than her saying it was absolutely not a bird. I have never forgotten this experience. It really creeps me out because I just remember that, and I hadn't thought about it for quite some time. All right, this one's kind of a long one. That is. Thank you, STL. No, the cracking is an old kind of thing that people say when they were wondering about Dogman standing up. It's just a anyway. There's definitely some strange stuff in the Ozarks. Wait a second. I never heard cracking either. Jeff, you ever of JC Johnson? I know JC Johnson or knew JC Johnson. Larry Lindman, thank you so much, brother. Good seeing you. Hope everything is well with you. I had a guy, I don't think it's Ricky Dahl, though. There was another guy. I'm curious. He was great. You're absolutely right. That was in Missouri named Rick, too, that had a Dogman live outside of his home. Send me an email, Wayne. I don't use Messenger. Please. Please and thank you. If you need my email, let me know. 59th, just put it in there. Actually, you know what? Yeah, yeah. I had talked to him like a couple times with Lon Strickler introduced me and him a while ago, Lily. Hmm. He was decent. Um, his son, and I think it was his son's girlfriend or wife. Dude, Aramic, I said, oh my God, Aramic just said so. Okay, so check this out. I've got to say this. I've got to share this. So 2 weeks ago, I was being nice to somebody, right? And I'm emailing them. And I make the joke of something, I just play one on TV. And the person was a couple years younger than me, not really young. And they had never heard the joke ever. And they like, I don't know, kind of like it was weird. I was like, you never heard that joke? Like I play one on TV. I was a doctor. I played one on TV. And I sent them the original commercial where that came from. Oh, the Ozarks? You've never heard of the Ozark Howler? The Ozark Howler is like from what, like the 80s or 80s, I believe. Aramic, do me a favor, send me an email tomorrow with your phone number in it because I didn't write it down. I got to tell you a funny story. Lily Lewis, that's the thing. There was no generational gap. It was only like 2 or 3 years. I wish I could tell the whole thing, but I really won't because it would be mean. I got to tell you this, Aramic, so please do, okay? All right, this experience is kind of long, so it's about a haunted house. I was 8 when we moved into this. I'm fucking reading here, stupid truck. I was 8 when we moved into this old country house on 89 acres of land, and I lived there for 10 years. Previously, we lived in a ranch style home in a neighborhood. I've returned several times, never alone, because it's my home, but never alone because, well, that's just dumb. Let me explain. When we first moved in, my brother and sister would notice red eyes peering through the windows. Not low either, high, always looking down. Weekly, almost nightly, those eyes. We developed a fear of windows. But nevertheless, we tried to make what we could out of living there. I mean, something was just looking into our house, and to be honest, we hadn't experienced anything else. So we ventured into the woods. We'd play in the creeks, but never went out at night. Time moved on. Mom and Dad divorced, and we left briefly, only to return back with Dad and his new wife. I am the only child living in the house at the time. My siblings lived with my mom and step siblings with their dad. It wouldn't be long that I would hear weird things in the house. Footsteps walking across the upstairs, coming down the stairs, opening the door, and no one there. My dad, a fucking twit, didn't care for curtains, so I eventually put up blankets on my bedroom windows. I always, and mean always, felt like I was being watched. I was always lucky enough to have a deadbolt on my bedroom door. which I utilized every night. Now, I never put much thought into it, but all the doors did, and the front door had 6 fucking locks on it. I never thought they were any good because the door was mostly glass. Those locks ain't stopping shit. I'm getting to the juicy bits. Hang tight. So one Saturday night, it's just me and my brother and stepbrother. They're watching a recap of WWE, and I'm playing Free Cell on the computer in the dining room next to an open window. I know, open window. You just said windows are bad. It was summer. I was 15. We lacked AC, and I felt comfortable / safe with my brothers. Moving on. Whistling. I hear whistling outside. It's midnight. Who the hell's whistling outside? I thought, it's Dad. No, Dad would have walked past me by now. And he'd be irritated that we were still up. So who's whistling? It's getting closer, walking the sidewalk around the house. I get my brothers. They do the same thing. It's Dad, which I quickly debunk. We are all about to shit ourselves. I hurry to my room before we get to see the whip or what it is that nears the side of the house. I lock my door. We stand there quietly. The front door opens and the whistling stops. Now footsteps. I'm begging, please go to the stairs. Whoever this is, I can pin them between Dad and myself. Dad's upstairs in the bed, by the way. Now the footsteps coming to my room. My brothers and I look at each other in fear. I kid you not, their eyes welled up. My stepbrothers started to cry quietly. The footsteps stop outside of the door. Silence. I try to peek through the keyhole. I can't see a damn thing. I can see into the hallway, but whatever is on the other side is out of view. So I get on my belly to look under the door. Shoes. I don't remember shoes when we came in, but I also don't remember paying attention to that detail. Damn it. So I whisper to my brothers, where are your shoes? One points across the room, the other to his feet. I wore boots exclusively, so they weren't mine. So there is an intruder, and they are right outside of my bedroom door. I'm not going out without a fight, so I conjure a quick plan, then involve my swords. Yes, I have swords. And me going out the door first, charge. 1, 2, 3. My brother swings the door open. I charge, and nothing is there. There were no footsteps that indicated they left. The front door never opened, indicating they left. So what gives? I check the other rooms, only to be confronted by my dad in his boxers, cussing me out for being up. We tried to explain, but he wouldn't listen. Now, a year later, my brother, 2 cousins, and myself venture into the property next to mine, seeking adventure. We all got lost, well, from what I could tell from climbing trees, just really far from home. But I knew a road that was nearby, so before the sun set, we needed to make it to that road. But while I was up a tree, I noticed these beautiful evergreens. I never saw anything like that on my property. I was captivated. So I proposed a vote to the others that we kept heading X way towards the road, or we'd head toward the evergreens. My brother insisted the road. He was overweight and done with walking anymore than he had to. My cousin and I said the evergreens and told the other cousin he doesn't get a vote, so the evergreens go. Upon reaching the location, we noticed a massive elevation in the middle of these woods. We climbed, and boy, oh boy, hickory trees, massive ones. There was this dead one that we could walk in. It was like a little house. My cousins and I decided to knock it over, and we did. But while we were there, my brother began freaking out. We need to go. We need to leave. He insisted with purpose. I was like, okay, I know it's getting close to sunset, but we are knocking this shit over. He was not having it. He was ever more insistent. So we left the area to calm the baby, as I put it. We entered a field. I looked at both ends and was like, one of you go and check that tree, like you go and check the tree line. Tell me what you see. My brother flips. No. Okay, I'll go. And Tom will go and check the other end. Once more, my brother says, no, argues this weird point about not splitting up. So we as a group went one direction, and hey, I recognized this place, which meant home was in sight. Still far off, but we were on our land. Once the house was visible, my brother took off running. He doesn't run, he's fat. He loafed walking, let alone running, but we ran all the way home. I thought that was weird. My cousins left, and my brother didn't speak a word. My mom showed up and took him home. My dad and I were confused. He never said he was leaving early, but he was gone, went home, figured I walked him to death or something. 30 minutes go by and he calls. Joey, now I can tell you. I saw something. I don't know what it was. It was tall, taller than Tom, faster than you. It was watching us. You guys were knocking over that tree and it kept running circles around us. I don't know if it noticed me watching, but it was watching us. I asked, and you didn't say anything because he stammered. You guys would have wanted to run or fight it. There is no way we could have fought that thing or outrun it. I figured that because it didn't approach us, we still had a chance to get away. Joey, that thing was a monster. It was hairy and large. It had many teeth and looked crazy, and I'm never going back into those woods or fields. And he didn't. In fact, he quit visiting after that, claiming that the creature was real and he didn't want to take his chances. A month goes by. I didn't bother telling my step-siblings about this. I didn't want to scare them. They'd quit coming like my brother. One night, my stepsister gets me up. She was sleeping on the couch and said she woke up to scratching noises. I was irritated that she woke me up, but then could not believe why she woke me up. Joey, the devil is at the front door. I heard scratching. I sat up, and there it stood. These crazy eyes looking at me. Teeth. So many teeth. It was huge. Really friggin' huge, and I was scared. I asked what was I supposed to do. She insisted go outside and make sure it's gone. Fuck that. I ain't dying. I have two people telling me that there's this thing. Neither people talk to each other, so how could that collaborate? Everything is pointing to this is real, and it's at my front door. I peek into the living room. I've never seen this thing. Now I may get to. But alas, nothing was there. Actually, my dog was, and he was begging to be let in. He was strictly outside and never wanted in, but I wasn't about to open that door. I figured he'd keep us safe in some capacity, either by alerting us or by being food. Eventually, Tom and I decided to hunt this thing. Took my younger cousin as bait even. No luck to even find the place where my brother claimed claimed he saw this in the forest. We lost it again. I kid you not, weirdest thing. We wander, and suddenly you're there, with no real direction. But before leaving, having not seen this creature, I took a piece of yellow rope and tied the two trees together. Nothing significant. Just bored and thought they'd grow together. Another month drifts by, and my uncle stops by to do some tracking. It wasn't long. He's back at the house screaming at me about being some kind of sick fuck. I'm confused and asked what was going on about. He said just down the main trail there's a dead dog. I really didn't see what the big deal was, so I went to check it out. Sure enough, there was a dead dog, but it was headless, footless, and even its tail was gone. There was no blood, and everything was deathly quiet. When that happened, I was more than used to it, but I wasn't used to a mutilated dog with no blood. Clean cuts, too. I noticed this rope next to the dog, this yellow rope. I stared at it for ages. I knew this rope. Oh my God, it was from my house. My stomach sank, but wait. No, I took that rope and tied the trees together. Panic set in. Only 4 people knew about this place. I described it to my dad, My uncle who wants the property, and they never saw it. So who got the rope? I tied 2 figure 8s. Who would go through the trouble and place it there in the front of the main trail with this mutilated dog? I noped home, and I could figure it was someone sending me a message. Well, a week later, my goofy self decides I'm going to see if the dog is still there. No, the dog is gone. Rope is gone. Then suddenly a flock of birds took off out of the trees and brush behind me, except for one. Finally, I'm going to catch a bird, I thought. So I creep and creep. No matter how close I got, it didn't move. Then I noticed it's been impaled on a tree branch through its ass right out its eye, right next to where the dog was. Nope, fuck this. I'm out of here. I never saw the creature. The most I ever saw was this ghostly white figure. For the longest time, I was the only one who saw it until one rainy night my brother saw it with me for validation. Last time I was there was a few years ago with my wife and a couple of friends. I wanted everyone to know and see where I grew up. Well, while there, we separated briefly, boys with boys, girls with girls. My wife eventually came to me. Why do you keep calling for me? Her friend. Yeah, is everything okay? I replied with a smile. Yeah, I heard y'all too. I want to call for y'all thoughts. They looked to her friend's husband. We heard you too. He was like, yeah, and I heard you. What did you want? At this point, I laughed. We need to leave now, right now. And don't look back, because we weren't calling you or yelling for you. And I'm guessing you weren't for us either. The girls were not. I wanted to show where I grew up and how spooky it was. I didn't think I would ever deliver like that. Leaving, my wife looked back. That can't be. Joey, there's a huge white figure. Yeah, I've seen it since I was 10. Dude, that kid was a prick. Like, let the dog in, you dickhead. He's like, it would protect us. It would protect us. No, you dink. If he was my son, I would let the dog in and push him out and be like, now you're going to protect us. Good seeing you, Wiley. Patrice, thank you so much. Right on, Andy. Right on, brother. What a dink, though. I hear you. I hear you. I'd be like, you're a little asshole. He'd be like, Dad! I'd be like, fuck you, buddy! While I'm patting the dog. I'd be like, you're just like your fucking mother! Fuck you! No way, 1343. I live in Riverside. I live in Riverside, California, too. I don't know where you can see a Dogman in Riverside, California. What's worse, being a dink or a donk? Well, a dink is double income, no kids. What's a donk? Double openings, no kink? Yeah, but that was in San Bernardino, and I wouldn't, probably close to you, but I wouldn't go there. I definitely, and I'm not, I can't tell you where to go because I'm not going to be part of your demise. Maybe go close to the Salton Sea. But go in the daytime. Don't go at night. I am Scotty Lee. It was a joke. It was a joke. Aramix back. Back in black. I was fucking with 1343. No, Ricky Doll. Nope. That's not true. Is it time? I think it's time. Oh, shit. You know what, guys? It is time, isn't it? Here we go. Here we go. It's Lot Lizard time. I know I run with scissors, but I wasn't going to send him where it was. I don't want to be part of somebody's demise. Jesus. I would never tell anybody exactly, hey, go here and see a Dogman. All right, here we go. No, we got Toby tonight, but I've got another Lizzo. The flickering fluorescent lights of Starlight truck stop buzzed like a disturbed hornet's nest, casting long, greasy shadows across across the cracked vinyl booths. Inside, Big Joe, a trucker built like a refrigerator, nursed a I can't fucking speak tonight. The flickering fluorescent lights of the Starlight truck stop buzzed like a disturbed hornet's nest, casting long, greasy shadows across the cracked vinyl booths. Inside, Big Joe, a trucker built like a refrigerator, nursed a lukewarm coffee. His eyes bloodshot from the 17-hour haul. He was bone tired, desperate for a shower, and a solid 8, but something felt off. Starlight had always been a little rough around the edges, known for greasy spoon burgers and questionable bathroom hygiene, but tonight an unsettling quiet hung in the air. The usual cacophony of CB chatter had ceased, replaced by a creepy stillness. Even Brenda, the waitress, with a permanent scowl and a penchant for dispensing backhand compliments, was nowhere to be seen. Joe sighed, rubbing his temples. Maybe it was just fatigue playing tricks on him. He reached for his wallet, ready to settle up on the bill, when he heard it. A low, guttural chuckle. Joe's a cock. Anyway. A low guttural cackle like the air escaping a punctured tire coming from the shadows near the restroom. Curious, despite himself, Joe lumbered to his feet. He peered into the dimness, his eyes adjusting to the gloom. And then he saw her, Lizzo. He was unlike anything he had ever She was unlike anything he had ever encountered, even after years on the road. Short, stout, and radiating a disconcerted aura of dampness. Lizzo resembled a practically lumpy toadstool and had somehow sprouted arms and legs. Her skin was a sickly green, glistening with a sheen that looked suspiciously like motor oil. She wore a tattered sequenced dress that strained at every seam, and her eyes, oh dear Lord, her eyes glowed with mischievous, almost predatory light. Joe swallowed hard. Hello, he stammered, instantly regretting it. Lizzo chuckled, deepened, morphing into a wheezing, almost flirtatious sound. Well, hello there, big fella. Long time no see, or maybe it's just the way the light hits me. She winked, a gesture that somehow made Joe's skin crawl. You look like you could use a little recharging. Joe, a seasoned veteran of questionable roadside encounters, recognized the danger signals flashing brighter than a Christmas tree. He knew instantly that she was not human. Lot lizard, maybe, but definitely not the kind that accepted cash. I think I'll pass, Joe said, backing away slowly. Just need to get back on the road. Lizzo's smile widened, revealing rows of disturbingly pointed teeth. Oh, but you haven't heard my special offer. I can drain away all the road weary exhaustion, leaving you feeling brand new. Just a little kiss. This was the worst sales pitch Joe had ever heard. Before Joe could make a break for the door, Lizzo lunged with surprising speed. She latched onto his arm, her surprisingly strong grip sending a jolt of icy energy through his body. Joe yelped, trying to shake her off, but she clung like a mutated leech. Let go of me, you chubby cryptid, he bellowed, swinging his arm wildly. With each attempt to dislodge her, Joe felt weaker, more drained. The light seemed to dim. His senses dulled. He could see other truckers slumped against the wall, their faces pale and slack, their eyes glazed over. They were all victims. Panic spurred him to a frantic action. He remembered an old wives' tale from his grandmother, a dedicated enthusiast of the paranormal. Salt! Cryptids apparently hated salt. Frantically, Joe fumbled in his pocket for his emergency bag of pretzels. He ripped open the bag and emptied the contents over Lizzo's head. The effect was instantaneous. Lizzo shrieked a high-pitched, piercing sound that made Joe wince. She recoiled, releasing his arm as if burned. The pretzels, now dissolving into a salty sludge on her green skin, seemed to be causing her genuine pain. Salty snacks, she hissed, her voice laced with venom. One of my weaknesses. What? You haven't seen the last of me, trucker. I'll be back with a big straw. With a final glare, Lizzo vanished into the shadows, leaving behind a lingering smell of motor oil and regret. Joe, weak but alive, collapsed into a booth. His legs trembled. He looked around at the other truckers, still slumped and lifeless. He grabbed a handful of pretzels and started flinging them at the nearest victim. One by one, the truckers roused themselves, blinking in confusion. Brenda, the waitress, staggered out from the kitchen, looking bewildered. What in tarnation just happened? She mumbled, straightening her hairnet. And who made the mess of pretzels? Joe, still shaking, just pointed toward the restrooms. You wouldn't believe me if I told you, he managed to say. The Starlight truck stop was never quite the same after that night. The truckers whispered stories of the salt pearl, or the oily ogre, and the chubby cryptid, and always kept a bag of salty snacks close at hand. Big Joe became something of a local hero. forever known as the man who fought off Lizzo with a bag of pretzels. And every now and then, on a particularly dark, stormy night, truckers would swear they could hear a low wheezing cackle and a glimpse of a shimmering green figure lurking in the shadows, forever hungry for a little recharging, especially if it came to a trucker who forgot his salt. Chanda, it's called a crawler. Chanda gritters, it's called a crawler. You're welcome. If you hear that chatter, that noise, they're usually communicating with each other. Try to get away as fast as possible. Bang, what's up, brother? How are you tonight? Herman Audette, how are you? Cara C. What's up, Shane McCabe? How are you, buddy? Thank you, The Truth. Thank you. I got one last lot lizard story. I got two other encounters for the night. Hang on. One, two. I got three. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do these three, the last lot lizard, and then we're going to end the night. I just got done shoveling now, ready for some encounters. I got to do some shoveling, Bang. Look at this shit. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Dude, holy shit. Hang on a second. We got 5 inches of snow. 5 inches since 9 p.m. tonight. All right. Here we go, kids. Here we go. Hi. Near my hometown, there is a hiking trail that people went to very infrequently. Why would you go infrequently, and fucking moron? I'm just kidding. Near my hometown, there is a hiking trail that people go to very infrequently. You mean very frequently? It was along the side of Niagara Escarpment in Wisconsin. So it had some climbable cliffs and some very shallow caves you could crawl on. I went with some friends when I was 19 years old, and we were crawling around and found a cave that went pretty deep. We had never been in there before, had never even seen it before. So we pushed forward and decided to check it out, even though we had no flashlights. And this was when cell phones didn't really have the flashlight function. We stepped into the cave, and it was easily 20 to 30 degrees cooler than the outside. Thank you, 3Cat Mom. Upon looking around with which light we had, we noticed it was very clean inside. As in, it did not have beer can or litter anywhere. While we were in there, we got really eerie feeling. After being in there shortly, we heard weird and strange things, feeling like we were being touched, poked, and pulled, and not having any way of figuring out who was doing it because it was so dark. We were just using our lighters to see what was around us. We were convinced one of us was messing with the others. Although any time we sparked up a lighter, we were all decently far apart. We decided to hightail it out of there after a few minutes, convinced to come back with flashlights. We came out to see that it was now dusk. When we entered, it was midday. Somehow, we lost 3 hours of the day inside the cave. We were only in there for like 15 minutes max. We went back with flashlights the next week, but we have never been able to find the cave again. This was in Wisconsin at Oakfield Ledge. OG Hash, what's up? Dude, I do not like splunking. Splunking is fucking scary. Like, has anybody ever gone like real caving? Like where you have to get like crawl on your stomach? Thank you, Zilla. I've done it twice. And I the last time I did it was literally like it was terrifying. We were in a cave. I don't know, I was young. I was probably like, we were in Boy Scouts. No, I was in the Explorers at the time because our Boy Scouts, our troop had gotten like our Boy Scout community or whatever. We didn't have money to support the troop. So they folded up and I ended up joining the Explorers, which was north of us, which is like the Boy Scouts, except it's boys and girls. So we were up north and I'll never forget this. We had been hiking for a while and we came to an iron ore deposit area where they used to dig out iron ore. And our leader's like, oh, let's go into the cave and see how far it goes. And I was young, everyone was young, so we were all pretty hyped about it. You know, we were like, yeah, let's do it. And so as we're going in, I didn't realize how like we'd have to crawl on our stomachs. I thought we were going to be standing up the whole time. And so we get to this one portion of the cave and we were walking, you know, straight walking like, and then all of a sudden the ceiling just goes like this. So it's, you know, regular height, but the ceiling just goes like that. And where I'm looking in, and there was no time to say no because the fucking leader had, by the time we got there, he was already in, like crawling in, like, and I'm in my head going, what the fuck are we doing? I'm like, my parents are paying for this. Like, do my parents hate me? So I get in there and I remember my belt of my thing caught on the rock that was, and I'm trying to crawl and I could feel that I was snagged. I had to bend my arm like this to like undo it. And I couldn't put my arm over my back because it was like literally, and my head was turned. Everyone was turned like that. We get to it, like it was probably 20 feet. Then we get out of that and it's this huge chamber and it was actually really beautiful. But when you looked up in this chamber, you could see there was a hole in the ceiling. So it was like another entrance to the cave, but you'd literally have to drop like 20 to 30 feet. So we kept walking straight. And I think our leader had been there before, because he was pretty awesome about everything. Like he just, he's like, we'll be okay, guys. It's almost done. Da da da. Except when we get to almost the end, it's pretty decently wide, and then all of a sudden it shrinks. Like it was so weird. And as it shrunk, the floor went lower, but the ceiling stayed the same. And in that lower part was water. So we were waist deep in this cold ass water, walking in this narrow fucking tunnel. And we finally get out. We're all freezing, but it was like 80 degrees outside. By the time we got back to camp, we were dried off. But it was just, that was the last time I ever went fucking hiking. It was not fun. I'll never forget in the rock that we were in. The rock was black because it was like iron ore and shit. It looked like just jet. Nothing about this cave said, "Come and fucking hike in me." Like it almost like, I want you to die here. That's all. It was fucking scary. Ugh. One evening back in high school in early 2000s, a couple of friends and I drove out to a very rural spot to hang out. There wasn't much to do in my small hometown of rural Indiana, so these country cruises, as we called them, to random locations were the norm, the highlight of our weekend. There were lots of these spots that we frequented, some more secluded than others. We decided to go to a spot known as Green Valley. It was a public lake, a fishing area, so it was technically closed at night. Not that it mattered, because there wasn't a gate, and the cops rarely went there. Plus, many jeep trails led back into the woods. So, if you were in the four-wheel drive vehicle, which we were, it was fairly easy to find a spot to park and hide from view. By the time we arrived, it was nearly dark, so we pulled into the main area of the lake, drove around the back side, and entered the woods via the jeep trail. It had been raining for a few days before. The trails were muddy, even without the rain, and had deep ruts in some spots from past visitors who had been there mudding. Yes, it's exactly like what it sounds. We drove big trucks and jeeps through mud pits in the attempt to get the vehicle as dirty as possible. Like I said, very small town. We didn't want to get stuck, so we stayed relatively close to the entrance of the trail. We drove back far enough to be hidden from view, killed the jeep, turned on the radio, and proceeded to roll up a few joints. My two girlfriends and I smoked, talked, and laughed meaningless random things. We were having a good time when suddenly something hit the hood of my jeep. Not loudly, but enough to make me look in the direction of the noise. I rolled the window down, but did not hear or see a thing, and my friends seemed not to notice. I continued our conversation when, a few moments later, another small ting sound came. This time from the windshield, and my friends heard this one. After they questioned what the noise was, I decided to be brave and get out and investigate. I assumed it was a small acorn or walnut falling from the trees overhead. I turned on the headlights, opened the door, and stepped out. After looking at the hood of the Jeep, I noticed a small gray rock lodged near the windshield wipers. I picked it up and showed them. We immediately recognized the rock. The front parking lot of the lake was made entirely of them. I quickly climbed back into the Jeep and rolled the windows up, assuming someone was messing with us. We decided it was time to pack it up and head out. lots of meth heads around the area, and we are not trying to get robbed or stabbed by one in the woods. I started the Jeep, turned off the radio. I know I'm not the only one who turns down the car radio when treacherous things arise, and began to carefully navigate down the short trail toward the back of the lake. All of a sudden, we were barraged with rocks much larger than the initial ones, all hitting the driver's side of my vehicle. I would have been pissed right as I let out the initial "what the fuck." We heard the sound I will never forget. I never do it justice, as it's almost impossible to explain. It was a loud roar. The only thing that ever came remotely close to it for me was when I heard a male lion roar at a feline sanctuary I visited with my husband years later. It was full of bass and lasted roughly 7 seconds or so. It was also fairly close. It was time to get the hell out of here, so I floored it. We had almost reached a trail entrance, and I'm driving way too fast when suddenly something slammed into the side of my Jeep, hard enough to make me fishtail a bit, followed by the same sound we heard the first time, only higher pitched, almost like it had been injured. I slammed on the brakes, and the typical panicked conversation began between us. You know, the one, "What the hell was that? Did we hit a deer?" It wasn't a deer. Let's go. I quickly continued down the trail and was finally at the lake when my friend in the back seat started to scream. Look, look. My friend was in the front seat, and I looked out the driver's side window to see a man running through the woods toward the lake. I only say man because it most definitely was on 2 legs. It was the shape of a person, only this person was moving at an unnatural speed through deep mud and trees, and their proportions seemed greatly off. Longer arms and legs with an average torso. We watched in silence as the man reached the edge of the lake, bent over, and ran on all fours using his hands, and leapt into the water. It was early October, and while it wasn't freezing, the water was definitely ice cold. We got the hell out of there, drove 70 miles down the back roads until we reached town. At the first gas station, we pulled in, got out of the Jeep. There were small dents near the back end of the driver's side. I lied to my parents and said I had backed into a pole. We decided it was best not to tell anyone, as we didn't want to sound insane. But every time I looked at the dent, I thought about it. I went back to that area multiple times during high school and never saw a thing. But through the years, I had heard others talk about particular things, including one story of a group of kids seeing a man shoot himself in his car while in his car. Went to call the cops and came back to find nothing. Damn it, I'm tired. Thank you, Erica. All right. This is the final lot lizard story of the night. Whew. What's up, Clint? How are you, buddy? You're good, brother. You're good. Chuck Norris doesn't have to pay for the services of the lot lizards. They just give it to him free because he's Chuck Norris. The fluorescent hum of Big Rig Diner buzzed, the fitting soundtrack of a bizarre taboo unfolding in the truck stop parking lot. Toby, in his sequenced hot red pants and lime green tank top, sashayed between the idling 18-wheelers. He was a confection of camp and desperation, his peroxide blonde hair defying gravity, and his smile surprisingly genuine, flashing like a beacon. Toby was a legend, whispered about in the hush overtones of lukewarm coffee and greasy cheeseburgers. He was a lot lizard who had a foot fetish so profound it had mutated into something else. It all started innocently enough. Toby offered foot massages. Truckers, cramped in their cabs for days, were surprisingly receptive. And Toby's touch, surprisingly strong despite his delicate appearance, could indeed soothe aching heels and release knot calf muscles. He'd chat, giggle, and generally charm the chrome off a bumper. The tips were good. Then came the licking. Nobody knew when or why. Some said it started with a dare. Others claimed it was a dark night, too many energy drinks, and the trucker with the particularly pungent athlete's foot that somehow triggered something primal in Toby. Whatever the cause, Toby started licking truckers' feet. Most truckers were weirded out. A few were intrigued. A very, very small minority were into it. Toby, never ever the opportunist, catered to them. But that wasn't the scary part. The scary part was the woods. Behind the Big Rig Diner, a dense, gnarled forest pressed against the asphalt like a disapproving parent. That's where Toby took his special clients. He led them in, giggling and whispering promises of ultimate foot nirvana. And that's where they vanished. Not all of them, mind you, just some. The ones with particularly appealing feet, according to the unsettling rumors that circulated amongst truckers. The police investigated, and of course, missing people reports were filed. Old Big Rig Diner was a transient place. People came and went. Truckers disappeared all the time. Besides, Toby was charming. He batted his eyelashes at a state trooper and offered him a foot massage. The trooper blushed crimson, declined the adamant. Toby was harmless, if a little flamboyant. The truth was, Toby was not harmless. He wasn't just licking feet. He was eating them. He developed a taste, not just for the taste, mind you. He appreciated the texture, the subtle variations in flavor, the way calluses crunch between his teeth. He developed a palate. I can't fucking speak. Able to discern the subtle nauseousness of foot seasoned with road salt and diesel fumes. Verse 1 infused with the aroma of freshly baked cherry pie. Toby had a system. He lured them into the woods, blindfolding them with a brightly colored scarf he always carried. He'd prolong the initial licking, building surprise and suspense. Then, with a swiftness that belied his flamboyant persona, he was incapable. I can't even read. He incapacitated them with a cattle prod. He liberated from a livestock hauler. Another story for another time. Then, when the feast began, tonight's victim, Big Joe, a burly trucker with feet like slabs of granite. He was a repeat offender, so to speak. Toby had sampled Joe's toes weeks back, and Joe, surprisingly, begged for a full course. As Toby led Joe blindfolded and giggling into the woods, he noticed something. A pair of green eyes glinting in the darkness behind a particularly large oak tree. It wasn't a deer. It wasn't wildlife. It was another lot lizard. This one older, thicker, and possessed the world weariness that suggested she had seen things even Toby couldn't imagine. She wore a stained leopard print jumpsuit, and her face was a roadmap of wrinkles, each one telling a tale of broken dreams. She stepped into the shadows. Toby, she rasped, her voice like gravel. We need to talk. Toby swallowed hard. Bernice, what are you doing here? I saw what you were doing, kid. I've been watching you for weeks. The disappearances, the woods, the eating. Toby played innocence. Eating? I don't know what you're talking about, Bernice. Bernice shook her head. Don't lie to me. I know what you're doing. I used to do it myself. Toby's eyes widened. You ate feet too? Bernice sighed, a sound like air leaking from a punctured tire. Hey, I practically invented eating feet around here. But I stopped. It's unsatiable. Word gets around. The cops start getting interest. And beside, she paused, gazing at Big Joe, still blindfolded and oblivious. That's not the way to treat a good pair of feet. You got to respect the feet, Toby. You got to appreciate them. Toby, for the first time in a long time, was speechless. He looked at Bernice, then at Big Joe, then back at Bernice. What do you suggest I do then? He finally said. Bernice grinned, a flash of gold teeth in the gathering darkness. I have no idea. Something that will satisfy your cravings, keep the truckers happy, and benefit both of us. She learned to close her breath, smelling of stale cigarettes and desperation. We're going to open a foot spa, a special foot spa. Toby stared at her. Damn it, I'm very tired. All right. The story's getting boring. Who cares, Linda? Weird story. I am definitely not going out to fucking snowblow tonight. I am too fucking tired. Dude, you ever been so tired? Dudes and dudettes, you ever been so tired? Literally, when I was reading that, so check this out. I'm reading like this, right? And all of a sudden, in my peripheral, I'm so tired that I literally saw like something go like this. like that. And when I looked up like that, I went, it was fucking weird. Darth Revan, the Lot Lizard stories are jokes. These are jokes. The Lot Lizard stories are funny stories told at these live streams. Maybe. But I don't sleep. I never fucking sleep. Ever. Sully, looking forward to it. Because honestly, I literally will get done here. I will get done here and I will look outside and I will be like, no, I got to go snowblow. I literally fucking will do that. Or I'll start working on an upload for tomorrow morning. I don't know. All right. We got to see Tigger tonight, though. At least we got to see Tigger. Oh, Tigger is beautiful. You know what? I'm not even gonna attempt to read one more. I will literally fucking be like blibbity blah blah blah. Blah. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm sorry I couldn't pull off another half an hour, but I will see you guys next week. And stay safe this week. Stay happy. Stay healthy. Don't let your meatloaf. Aramic, don't forget to fucking email me tomorrow morning, sometime, whenever. I got to talk to you about something. I got to tell you a funny story. All right. Love you guys. Thank you once again. And sorry about that last story. I was literally fucking like, but anyway, thank you. I love you all.